face, skeptical looking face. There are a couple of things I want to do today, and you may have noticed that your course is published. And one of the first things I want to do is talk to you about how is this course organized, AKA, how do I get an A in this class? The second thing I want to talk to you about after how is this class organized is who is your professor and give you an introduction. And then the third thing we're going to do in this class is answer this question. Let's see. As you get to know me, you'll find I'm psychic. And I'm getting a psychic vibe right now from everybody. And the question on your mind is, why do I have to take art appreciation if I'm not going into art? Okay. So how many of you, show of hands, actually want to go into the arts? 2, 3. Mariana, I noticed you were in another class. That's great. So 3 people. Now that means that the majority of you are not going to go into art, probably had to take this as an elective and are thinking, why do I have to take art appreciation? And I hope to surprise you and give you a really good answer to that question. So we'll be doing that in just a second. Let's do a share screen. And on our share screen, here we go. Will it allow it? I love how this RBC gives you super slow computers. Just one moment. I'm having a technical problem, so allow me to solve it. Of course, it has to happen on the first day. Thank you for giving me a chance to do that. I just wanted the rest of this to go smoothly. So you'll notice when you go to our home page that there's this menu to the left. If you've never been in a Canvas class, just excuse me if you've done this for a year now. I want to hit the people who are new at it. The menu is on the left. On your phone, the menu is in the top right. And for my class, the way that the class is organized shows up on that menu bar on the left. So you've already, I hope, noticed that in the announcements, that when you go to announcements, I will announce something before pretty much every class. And sometimes it'll have reminders, sometimes it'll have updates. If I've gotten a couple of emails from people in the class where they've had a problem or had a question, I know that probably everybody has that question. So the announcements are actually really important. Last semester, I noticed that a lot of students just went by their calendar. And if it was due, that was what was important. And you just kind of, I know you're juggling a lot, but you just go through the calendar and track the class according to your due dates. Well, in this class, you can't really do the assignments unless you follow the module because it's very interactive. So of course the calendar is important, but the announcements will kind of alert you, here's what's on the calendar and here's what you have to do before the calendar. As a courtesy, I include the Zoom link, which is also, as you see here, next on the menu. So you can click there. I don't have a password. You just join in. I will always have my screen on a half an hour before class. Now, partly that's just because I'm getting set up and moving around. You'll see that we're in my studio, so I might be getting some materials ready for class. Sometimes my screen will be blank. If you come on a half an hour early and you have any questions at all, just unmute your mic and y'all, hey, Professor Delano or Miss Delano, I need some help, or Miss Delano, I want to talk to you about something. And I'll be happy to come on the screen and talk to you before class. And then if you have any questions after class, I have a class that comes on at 2 p.m. and we get done at 1:15. So I kind of have it scheduled that I'm hoping to just spend 15 minutes after class till 1:30 to answer any questions. And then that gives me a half an hour to start for the next class, get up and stretch. So half an hour before class, 15 minutes after class on Zoom. Now, I can schedule a personal Zoom meeting with you at any time. And so instead of office hours, I have contact me. My email is all over this website. And if you email me and say, I have a question, I have an idea, we can either solve it through email, but if you want to talk about it, no problem. Just ask me for a personal Zoom meeting. They're not recorded. It's just between you and me. I'm happy to do it in the evenings if you're off of work at 6 and you want to do it at 7. I don't do it on weekends unless there's an incredible emergency. So just email me if you need to talk. I also record these sessions. Most of your Zoom classes are recorded. And then I get a link that shows the whole Zoom session. Well, I will often edit that link to take out all of the extraneous stuff, you logging on at the beginning, and I'll have a recording of the class. So if you're ever sick or have an emergency or you're confused about a test, you can request that I send you that copy of the Zoom link, or I might post it sometimes for class. So that's Zoom. Now, the best way to stay on top of things with this class is modules, and everything else under modules is just how the modules are organized. And if you go through the modules step by step, it will really, really keep you organized. So look for the announcements, hop onto Zoom, and check out the modules. Now, I'm hoping that you may have already been doing what will we be doing in this class. And I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about these 3 topics at the end of class, because that's going to lead us into what we're going to study about. So if you haven't had a chance to check out that page, please read it, okay? Now, I have to move you guys on my screen. Zoom is putting you in front of my next button. Oh, let's see. It's not allowing me to do that. Okay. So once you hit that, we're going to go back to modules. I don't know why it won't let me forward from modules, but that's okay. And then we talk about how this class is organized. I can't stand it when people read what's already on the screen. I assume if you're in college, you know how to read. And so if you ever get confused about how does this class work again? What did she say? How do I have to do stuff? Go to this page. Now, when we're in the intro module, I often will add to the intro module. You see here, I'm really explaining things really well. So if you get forgetful, it's going to all be there, okay? I will often add to the intro module if there's something new, like we're going to try a new app, or we're going to try a new experiment with something. And if it has some technical aspect to it, how to post from a discussion board from a breakout room, anything like that, you'll see that it'll be in this intro module where it's introducing how to do things. Here's something about me, but here, and you can watch that, but as part of my introduction, I just wanted to say that I'm a professional artist and I work with the Virginia Museum. I've been a statewide visiting artist. I've shown in Europe. I've been in books and magazines, all that. That's just to tell you that a professional artist is teaching you about art. So when we moved out of the classroom into the studio, I at first was disappointed, and then I was real excited because my studio's fun. My whole house is a studio. So when we start talking about art, if I want to show you a technique, I can more easily demonstrate the technique out of my studio to go with the art we're looking at. So you will have the benefits of a peek inside of an artist's studio, which is way more interesting than a boring classroom. That said, this is not art history, okay? So we are not going to go names, dates, places, memorization of people hanging in museums. I think that could be intellectual but boring. This is also not an art studio class. For instance, you're not going to learn how to draw, you're not going to learn how to sculpt, you're not going to learn how to make things. It's art appreciation. So occasionally we'll be doing creative projects, but I don't know whether you can draw or not. And the concept of drawing might make you really excited or make your palms sweaty. So what we're going to do in this class is I figure everybody can use their cell phone. And we'll be doing a lot of stuff where we use your cell phone to do projects. Now, when we use your cell phone to do projects, we will be taking photographs, using apps, exploring things with your cell phone. We might look at a certain type of art, and I ask you to take your cell phone and take a picture of something that looks like that art. A dark and stormy night, a mood, a set of colors, whatever. Okay. You'll have those images on your cell phone, and then I'll ask you to either upload them to a discussion page or upload them to a student gallery page. And so when you post your cell phone picture to the discussion page, that means that as a class, we can go to that discussion page and we can all look at the different photographs people have taken. If it's a gallery page, it's just like me setting up a page for the class, except for you guys get to set up the page, and those pages are set so that both you and I can edit them. So, you know, the discussion page, anybody can post to that. On the class pages, it's a little unusual for me to let you have control of that. Now, you're thinking, you know, how is that actually going to work? So actually, I'm going to give you an assignment right now. You know how there are sometimes professors will give you short exercises to make sure you can do the technology. So this is getting us to post to the discussion page, but have a little fun with it. Okay. So as I said, one of the things that we're going to do is talk about how the class is organized. And if you go through the intro section and read those pages I just showed you, it'll tell you how to succeed in this class. If you get confused or lost, go back to those pages and it'll help you figure out how this class is organized. Okay. Our next question though was, who else is in this class besides me? So I've got an introduction to me, and here's what we're going to do. I want you to use your cell phone, and I want you to go to Google Art and Culture, and you'll see that right here if my cursor is showing up. Google Art and Culture is a free app. You can download it to your computer, you can download it to your phone, you can just go to Google Arts and Culture on your computer. And what's very cool about this tool, if you haven't used it before, is it gets rid of our textbook. So I just saved you about $100 to use Google Art and Culture. And, you know, when you Google something, you can find anything. Well, why go through all the trouble of you having to not know the right search terms or keywords when Google has taken all the digital information from all the museums in the world? Now, I mean, anything that has to do with culture. So it could be art museum, it could be a museum of natural history, it could be Islamic, it could be Chinese, it could be in India. And what they've done is they've used AR and augmented reality and machine learning, AI, artificial intelligence, and they've taken keywords from all the art, from all the museums, from all the art and culture, and they've put it into this one site. So it could be something as simple as, I like the color red. Click, here's all the paintings that have color red in it. I want to project a piece of art onto my wall. Click, you can project any masterpiece onto your wall. I want to see what I look like in a painting. You can take a selfie and then find a painting somewhere in the world that looks exactly like you. So the Google Art and Culture is a kind of networked machine learning, artificial intelligence bot that can tell you anything you need to know about art. So for our purposes, if I give you an assignment, it's real easy just to go to Google Arts and Culture, click on it, type in your search, and at your fingertips, you'll have the best information and the best images that you can use. Okay. Well, one of the things that they have is called Art Transfer. And you'll see here where it says first go to Google Art and Culture and download the free app. You're going to be looking for something called Art Transfer. And what happens with Art Transfer is you can take a picture of yourself, and then you can choose a work of art, and you'll see these works of art at the bottom. And it might be Vincent van Gogh or Leonardo da Vinci. And you click the button and it changes your face. So we're not going to actually see a selfie. We're going to see you as though you're a work of art painted. And I want you to choose, I want you to go through them, take a selfie, go through the possible changes that Art Transfer lets you transfer a painting onto your face, and you're going to post it. You're going to also then leave some information about who you are, because one of the problems with an online class is, you know, you see everybody in these little squares, and everybody kind of wants to talk or get to know each other, but everybody's kind of geeky about doing it. Like nobody wants to speak up. Like, oh my God, she wants to see me. Oh my God, she's asking me to say something. Oh my God, what if? And secretly, it would be really cool if you met somebody and made a friend, but that's not going to happen if you're just sitting there not knowing who else is there and being kind of shy about it. Now, I'm going to give you an example. If for some reason you do not want to download Google Arts and Culture and you can't get it on your phone or whatever, you can take a picture of yourself and you can alter it with filters. You can alter it as much as you want. I am not so interested in seeing a photograph of you as seeing some kind of, I want you to play around with a creative interpretation of you. If you hate the idea of your face being on a discussion board, you can also get artistic, get theatrical. You can put on sunglasses. You can put on a hat. You can put on weird makeup. You can do a profile. You could dress, I don't know, as another gender for all I care. You can play around with this assignment. This class, I hope, will be very different from other classes that you have. And so this is a chance for you to play around with it. Now, let's take a look here. I kind of tried to help you out. And so, is everybody seeing my screen? Lauren Totino, I see you. Will you go like this if the screen is coming up okay? Okay, thank you. Sometimes, you know, it looks good for me. I want to make sure it looks good for you. So what I did was, here's how you do that. And I decided to use Vincent van Gogh's irises. And as you can see, it kind of changed me. And I chose irises because I really love nature. You can see in my studio, I draw from nature. I love flowers. Flowers and things that grow make me stop and really pay attention. And so that's why I chose it. There were a couple of really cool ones that I could have used. And so I wrote something about myself, something that you might know. And then I wrote something that was, you know, kind of revealing. I was run over by a motorcycle in Italy one time, which I was leading a group of students, and they didn't like it when the little ambulance wah, 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 came and took their teacher away, and they were alone in Florence for a night. But anyway, so I wrote a little bit about myself. So what I'd like for you to do is go to this website that we'll be using, this app that we'll be using, look at it. They have some games and cool experiments with artists. It's really a fun site to explore. Find Art Transfer, transfer your face, post it with something about you. Now, part of any of our discussions in this class will be whenever you post to a discussion, I'd also really like for you to respond to other people. So let's say I was a student and you read this and you might say, oh man, I'm interested in fashion too. Or I'm interested in fashion, but don't know how to design. I like to travel too. Never been to Italy, but I like Italian food. Just anything so that when you see somebody post or you post, write just a few sentences, and then before the next class, check out who's in your class and just respond to like 3 people. That way we'll have some talking going on. And when we do breakout sessions where you get to talk in small groups about ideas together, it won't be so stiff. You know, you'll be like, oh yeah, you're the one who went to my high school. You're the one who got run over in Italy. Are we good with this? Okay, really? Somebody speak up.
Yes.
Thank you, Leah. Do you think you could have fun, Leah, with this?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, it's a fun. It's real also for drawing ideas because you know it changes your face around. Cool. Well, if you have any problems, let's see. This is what. Oh, we're going to talk about why do I have to take art appreciation, but let me do one more thing for modules.
I had a question.
Sure.
Is that this?
Jasmine, your mic went off. Put your mic back on. Click.
Is that discussion board already up?
Yes. Now here we go. Let's do this. Who else is in the class is now published, and discussion. Who else is in this class? Let's see. Cool. Good for you. I hadn't clicked that, and sometimes I won't put up too much before class because I want to go over it with you, but it's always good to ask me, did you publish that? Because as you can see, it's a click, and just like with your mic, sometimes I'll click and it clicks right off, right? So yeah, good. Thank you, Jasmine. Being so brave to actually say something, right? Anybody else? Here's something that'll help you. When we do this one that's published, hello, how to do stuff, facts. Canvas won't let you post a picture often directly from your phone, because if I allow students to edit or post, you could upload anything from anywhere. And yeah, I've had some problems before with people uploading like really inappropriate content. And so, yeah, Richard Bland College, that's what we do. Okay, so what happens is, so that people have responsibility for what they post, you have to post to your account first. So you have to go up to your account, and then you have to click on files. And once you click on files, you can then upload a picture from there. So it'll show you how to upload your file, and then you can upload it. You can see I upload a lot. You can upload from your phone, or you can email the photo to yourself and upload it from your email. And then you can save it in My Files for this class. And then you can go to the page and upload it. So remember, you have to go to your account. Now, when we're doing that, let me go back here if it will allow me. There we go. So what you'll see on this frequently asked questions page at the bottom of the intro modules is, how do I save photos from my cell phone? How do I post them to a discussion page? When we do a student gallery where we show ideas or work that you've done, how do I post to that? I will be updating this during the semester so that if there's something technical that we're doing, you will know. And you can go here. The other thing is, as you can see here, please email me if you want to add to this. I try to anticipate what you need, and I try to think about you as you go through this course. But of course, I'm not on your end. And so I may think all the problems are taken care of, and you keep having a problem. Canvas Help is very helpful. So you can go to Canvas Help. But if you think it's a tech problem that we ought to address in this class, please send me something and say, I think this needs to be on the frequently asked question page because I'm having a problem with it. And in fact, a lot of the stuff that's on here is something that students have written and sent me in a document, and I've cut and pasted it on here because it's from a student's viewpoint how to do it. So this page ought to help you on that. Okay, so remember to refer to that. How are we doing so far? Good? Yes. I think it's going to be good. Let's go back to modules because that's where we always go back, what we always go back to. Okay, the big question. Why do I have to take art appreciation? Now, since I know you can read, I'm going to actually come in here. Let me resize my screen. Let me stop the share. Stop share. We'll go back to it. There we go. Hello, everybody. Emily, you know you have to be on screen. Riona, I know you got kids, but if I can see your screen, that'd be good. Demaje, there you go, Emily. Hey, Tyreek, I need to see your face too, because I think you're in another class, right? Hi, Riona. You look so nice. The lighting's so nice, Riona. Why not? And then Tammy J. Tama, hey. Oh, you're welcome. It's fun to see how people frame themselves. Helps me interact. Thanks. So why should you take art appreciation? Well, we've got 3 things we're going to study, and they're so important that I've put videos on that page for you. And I'd like for you to think about this before next class, because we're going to do something with this idea. Here's why you should take art appreciation if you're not going to go into the arts. Okay, we've got 3 things that we're going to study. One is called visual literacy. Now, have you guys ever heard of the word visual literacy before? This means, oh yeah, and this means, Your head has to go one way or the other. Have you ever heard of visual literacy before? Yeah, look, everybody's like, no. Okay, you know how you have old school professors that make you want to make you read a book, and you've got to do like outlines, and you're reading the book and you fall asleep, and you hate reading the book. And if I said to you, Leah's smiling, if I said to you, which would you rather do, read a book or watch a video? Which would you rather do, write an outline or shoot a video? Most of you are going to say, I want to watch a video. I don't want a textbook. I don't want to go line by line, 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, sentence, paragraph, page. It's boring to you because you have not been brought up with books. You've been brought up with the internet and the computer. Well, I don't even know if you remember how old school this is, but computers used to be called word processors, right? Yeah. Do you ever call it a word processor anymore? That's like somebody called a piece of paper typing paper in one of our classes, and I'm like, we have printer paper, but we don't have typewriter paper anymore. So here's what happened. Probably right before you were born, we went to GUI, Graphical User Interface. Now think about it. When you go to get information on the computer, whatever, on the monitor, how much of it is visual and how much of it is words? And if you think about it, most of the stuff you learn is visual, right? Well, you've been taught how to read and write words and letters, but you've never been taught how to read an image. So what happens is, if I'm illiterate, I can barely make out the words. In fact, the words might look like squiggles on a page. If you're semi-literate, you can kind of read the words and put them together slowly. If you're literate, oh, sure, I read it, I get it, I understand it. And if I'm fluent, I read it, I get it, I understand it, I can explain it to you and have a conversation about it. Now, you've had 12 years of English teaching you how to read, sentences, or how to write an essay paper, and you understand there's like a form for it. How come, if we mostly use pictures now and images, how come the idea of reading a picture seems weird, right? And what happens is, if you look at a photograph or an image and you just see it, I could just see words on a page, and I might be aware of what I'm seeing, like I'm reading it. Like maybe I'll watch news about the Capitol riots and I'll read it and see that people are screaming or bashing in windows, and I might read things into it. But if I'm really fluent, can I really tell about the body language? Can I tell about the way it was edited? Can I tell about the way that the people videotaped it? Because we all know that you can put something on video, but there might be on video crowds of people clamoring for something. But in real life, they're only in front of the camera and the rest of the landscape is peaceful and quiet. So when you see something that's been edited onto this little screen and you read it, you're being heavily influenced. Visual literacy and how you read something is also important for your pocketbook. Not too long ago, I was going to go to a former student's house to give them some feedback on their painting and to give them a critique and to say, thank you, this person was going to make me dinner. Well, of course, he's a student, so he's going to make me spaghetti, and he didn't have his act together before I came over to the apartment, so we had to go grocery shopping so he could get the spaghetti sauce and spaghetti for the dinner for my critique that I was going to give him. And on the top shelf is this jar of spaghetti sauce that's like, you know, $7. And it looks like Mamma Mia spaghetti sauce. It has a picture of Italy, and it looks like a hand-cut picture of tomatoes and wonderful vegetables, and it's expensive. And on the bottom shelf is a really plain can that's just spaghetti sauce, and it's about $2. Well, Jonathan goes and he picks up this $7 jar and he's going to buy it. And I'm like, I know you don't have a lot of money. Why are you buying it? It's like, oh, this is better. I want to do something nice for you. Well, even though it looked like, you know, abbondanza, Mamma Mia, Italian spaghetti sauce, you look on the back and it's made in Cincinnati, Ohio. And you compare the ingredients to the cheap one, and the ingredients are pretty much the same. So how come he's paying $5 more? He's paying $5 more for the label, right? The label, yeah. The label costs like 1/100th of a cent, maybe. And they paid a designer to design it beforehand, but the designer knew how to influence you and make you think it's Italian, it's handmade, it's from a farm, you know, like Pepperidge Farm. There really isn't a farm at Pepperidge, right? And so for visual literacy, you're always being played and manipulated by what you see. But if you don't understand what you're seeing, it's easier to play you. So visual literacy is the ability to read and interpret images. 90% of statistics are made up. So 80% of what you see is probably visual. I made that up, but really think about it. How often do you see information versus read it? And I would imagine it's about 80% of the time. I mean, even when you see me, it's visual, and I might be speaking words, but the way I look, my background, all of that is influencing you, right? So one of the things that might be interesting for you with this idea is next time you watch a video, I'd like for you to snap your fingers or just do this, pat something every time the camera angle changes, and see how quickly you see things. Because in a commercial, you'll be like this every time the camera view changes for something. And that means that you're used to seeing things for maybe a quarter of a second, maybe a half a second. 2 seconds is a long time for you to look at something. If you're being manipulated and visual information influences you and it's going by that quickly and you don't slow it down to really see what you're looking at, you're really not seeing, right? Now, visual literacy, the ability to read and interpret images. Think about the profession you want to go into and think, is it important for you to be able to be visually literate, be able to look at images? So for instance, I've got a radiologist. If that radiologist is lousy at looking at pictures and interpreting visual information, I'm dead. If you go into the medical field at all, it's really kind of interesting these days. You don't get much printed report. What you get are MRIs and CT scans and images. And the more advanced technology in medicine, it's thousands and thousands of images. If you're a researcher studying cancer cells, you are looking at hundreds of thousands of images. Let's say you want to be a detective. If you go to a crime scene and you have lousy visual literacy, you're not going to pick up on stuff, right? So you want to be like Watson, Sherlock Holmes. You know how Sherlock Holmes looks at somebody and goes, oh, the dirt on your shoe is from Eastwick, in the morning where the sheep are, something like that. So as a detective, you might need visual literacy. As a social worker, how do you know if a kid's abused? You watch and you look and you see where a bruise might be. So I'd like for you to think about, okay, in my intended career, how might the ability to really look and see things better, how can my eyesight be improved? I'm not talking about an eye chart, but my thinking about what I see, making that connection. Now, if you don't have an intended career, you have no idea what you're going to do, make something up. Okay. Like, oh, if I was a forensic psychologist, if I was a radiologist, make that up. Okay. So we have visual literacy, number one. Number two, creativity. Now, everybody talks about critical thinking and the importance of being critical thinker. And I think that's kind of like if you're really old school Spock, you know, if all you do is think with your head critically, life gets a little boring. I mean, it's analytical and you can pick things apart, but think about the important things in life to you. Who do I fall in love with? What kind of career should I have? What job should I have? What college should I go to? How do I start my own side hustle? Well, all of those are not critical thinking. You might need critical thinking to do them, but they're creative problem solving. You have to be creative when you find a job, creative to stand out, creative in your finances, creative to work a side hustle. Now, when I'm going to ask for another show of hands, how many of you have had a teacher talk about either critical thinking, the scientific method, or have demonstrated, like writing on a chalkboard or working out a math problem, how to do some kind of scientific STEM critical thinking? How many of you? Yeah, everybody pretty much, right? Okay, now, how many of you have had teachers show you how to do critical thinking, analyze something, do a math problem, write a research paper? How many of you have had teachers do that for 5 or more years in your entire life through elementary school? Okay. Look at now, here's the question. How many of you have had a teacher demonstrate and show you specifically how to be creative? Show of hands. Emily, you've had a class with me. Riona, you've created somebody cute there, I see. We have an extra student. Now, thank you, Leah. Here's something interesting. If you go and look up human resources, top 10 job skills to succeed in today's market. Top 10 job skills, creativity, innovation, flexibility will be in the top 10. Like everybody who hires anybody who gets a good job says creativity is very, very important. Now, I'm assuming you want to have a highly paid job, very highly paid, right? Think of the lowest paid job, which you might be in. Let's say I'm a cashier at Food Lion, or I'm flipping burgers at McDonald's. How creative do they want you to be? They want you to do your job and be a robot. You're not going to get creative flipping burgers, right? Now think of a neurosurgeon, a manager, a business owner, a president, okay? Aren't they creative? Elon Musk, Tupac, you know, any kind of musical artist, any kind of celebrity, they're very, very creative. They're trendsetters. The more money you make, the more creative you will have to be. Now, this class will teach you how to be more creative because we're going to look at creativity and artists that are creative, and so it'll rub off some. Now, I realize that you might think, I'm going to be a nurse, and nurses have to follow orders, and nurses aren't really creative. I mean, they want you to be critical thinkers. Did you know that there's a journal called Creative Nursing? Think about it. if I have a patient who has transportation problems, multiple illnesses, not a very good support group, you're going to have to create a treatment plan for them. If you're a lower nurse, you might just follow orders, but the head nurse has to create training programs, has to create teams, has to create connections with doctors. Neurosurgeons will often tell you that there's no rules on how to operate on anybody's brain tumor, because everybody is different. So they have to create and visualize a treatment plan. So I would like for you to think about in your career, how could creativity or innovation help you? Now, the last thing that we're going to talk about in this class is a word you probably won't hear a whole lot, except for in this class. It's called xenophilia. Now, you might have heard xenophobia. Anybody hear xenophobia? Show of heads. Xenophobia. Yeah. Yeah. Charnay. Is that how you say your name, girl? You're saying, yeah. Cool. My mother's name is Charmy, so I'll be able to remember your name easily. Xenophobia is being afraid of another culture. And so if I'm afraid of Muslims, or I'm afraid of the Chinese, or I'm afraid of a black man walking down the street, that's xenophobia. That's me being afraid just because I'm ignorant and don't know anything about them. Xenophilia is a love of other cultures. Okay, you're interested, you're intrigued. So, somebody is a Muslim. Well, what do Muslims believe in? What does Islamic art look like? If you're looking at Black culture, who are some of the famous artists that are representing Black voices today? Asian art, you might know about anime, but do you really know about the Japanese artists like Hokusai that actually started manga? And so xenophilia is kind of getting excited when you look at things outside your culture. You might see me light up when I'm talking about, I'm just like, Thailand, India, Native Americans. I get a lot of inspiration from other cultures. I don't feel like I live in Dinwiddie. I'm a global citizen, so I can go online and find wonderful things all over the world that are absolutely different from my life, and people who think differently. And so in this class, we're going to study xenophilia, different cultures. Now that includes subcultures of the United States. I have been very concerned about social justice, anti-racism, and changing our curriculum to better reflect the diversity in our country. And so you will also notice throughout this class that I will have equal representation between Black and white artists. I'll include Native American artists. I will include LGBTQ artists. I will include trans artists. I will include imagery that shows two men kissing in a painting. I think that we have a phobia about things that we're unfamiliar with. And I think sometimes people feel really put down because their voice isn't respected. So in this class, we will look at a whole lot of diversity, not just different cultures. Now, with that idea, how could xenophilia help you in your job? How could an appreciation of different cultures help you in your job? If you are a social worker, do you need to know about different cultural traditions so that you understand family structure? I had a student from Korea who would never look me in the eye. She'd always look down. And in the United States, if you don't look at somebody, you're avoiding their gaze and you might not be trustworthy. In her culture, it was rude to stare at the professor like this. And she felt very uncomfortable. And so we had to work on, you're not trying to avoid me, you're trying to be respectful. But in the United States, respect is making eye contact. So she had to put her hands behind her when she talked to me. And it's like, even if you meet my eyes for 3 seconds, work on that. And so she'd use her fingers behind her back, 1, 2, 3. I made eye contact and then she'd look away. I had a wonderful student from Taiwan that did this a lot, but talked with her eyes a lot. That was cultural. She wasn't trying to hide anything. It was just a cultural difference. So as a teacher, I needed to know about xenophilia. I needed to know about their culture so we didn't miscommunicate. So if you think about being a doctor, a nurse, an educator, a detective, a social worker, how could understanding different people's cultures affect you? Good. Now, if I actually taught you about how to be more visually literate, how to be more creative, understand and appreciate other cultures and other people's viewpoints, would you say that would be useful to you? And if we did it creatively with doing apps and experimenting and looking at cool art, that could be even more fun. So I am trying to convince you about why should you take art app. It'll give you some polish and give you some skills you don't get anywhere else. Cool beans? Yes. Yes, I say cool beans. All right. Let me share the screen here. I want to show you where we're going then, and I'll do a quick share. Okay, so now I just talked about why do I have to take art appreciation? And if those subjects that I briefly talked about, since we're going to focus on them in this, here, come on, open up. Here we go. In this section, I actually made some short videos that explain the topics a little bit more deeply so that you could think about it, okay? So you see there that I've got 3 of them. I keep my videos usually under 10 minutes. I strive for 5 minutes because that way you can, you know, put it on while you're doing dishes or put it on while you're taking care of your kids, and you can just listen to me yak in the background. So I split things up into really short videos that you can watch at any time. We will, by Wednesday, be having a discussion about this. So I always tell you what you will need to do before class. Now, notice I haven't posted that discussion yet, okay? I just want you to think about it. And what I want you to do is this. Okay, I've been talking for a while. I usually don't talk the whole time. I get you to talk, but you guys don't want to do that the first day because you're like scared deer looking into the headlights. Just joking. Okay. So you might have already looked at this. Who else is in this class is the introduction to Google Arts and Culture that I talked about. This discussion, you know, it says February 1st, but I reset that. This discussion should be done. Oh, I know what I did. I want you to do the discussion post by Wednesday, post the picture by Wednesday. And then I made the due date on Monday so that you can post by Wednesday. And then on Wednesday, we can talk about it a little bit, but then you have time to reply to people. Like it always takes a while between when you actually post to reply. So I'd like for you to post this discussion by Wednesday, okay? Our next class meeting. So it's just quick, take a picture, learn how to post it, say a few things. That way I'll know that you know how to post to the discussion. Now, you always get points for that, okay? So this one is just 5 points. It's like, do it, learn how to post to the discussion. Why do I have to take art appreciation is the videos I just showed you. And what I want to have you do is after Wednesday, I'll go ahead and post it. After Wednesday, when we talk about it a little bit more, I'm going to ask you to post a discussion about your career and how these 3 topics could help. So my thinking is that between this time and next class, you go through the modules and make sure you understand everything. You read the syllabus. You get Google Arts and Culture, take a picture, and post it to the discussion. Add a few sentences about yourself, and that way by Wednesday, will be able to have photographs up, take a quick look at them, and you'll be able to reply to different people in the class. By Wednesday, I'd like for you to have looked at those videos on creativity, visual literacy, and xenophilia. You do not have to do a discussion about it yet, about how it applies to you. On Wednesday at the top of class, I'll assume you've watched those 3 videos on the main topics, and we'll just have a short little bit about what did you think, what's your response, and how are you going to approach the discussion. I will tell you, and it's written on the page, that once you post your discussion about, oh, here's how I can see this class helping in my career, you'll get some responses from other people in the class, and it will be leading to a reflective paper that's a assignment for a paper. So you want to be sure that you're ready for Wednesday by having viewed those videos, and be ready to kind of talk about it so you can discuss it. Let's see. You'll see that I also have modules for visual literacy, creativity, and xenophilia on my screen, but I haven't published them yet, so you can't see that, but that's where we're going. So now, Leah,